Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is Friday. Fun Friday, September the 1st, 2017. Day 180 of TowerGate. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, the remnants of Hurricane Harvey are finally working their way here into the southern Ohio Valley. The winds are picking up out there. Temperatures dropped. It's really kind of cool out there right now. It's kind of unusual, kind of weird. And we are expecting the rain to begin sometime here in the early morning hours. It's going to rain all day Friday and probably a lot of the day on Saturday. So the remnants of Hurricane Harvey are approaching the southern Ohio Valley. It appears now that unfortunately the death toll has reached about 20 from Hurricane Harvey in Texas. It looks like it's kind of working its way over toward Louisiana. Could be some issues there, and of course now they're talking about another hurricane that they're watching brewing just out in the Gulf, which could be even worse than Hurricane Harvey. The winds that they're clocking right now are far greater than the winds that they were clocking with Hurricane Harvey when it was at the same state. So, you know, it's building, and they're not sure exactly where this storm is going to go, or if it will even hit landfall, but if it does, it's going to pack a wallop. So after having 3 years where we really didn't have a very active hurricane season, even though it was predicted, here we come into this year, and it looks like we have a pretty active season so far. But hopefully the other hurricane goes out to sea, doesn't come inland. We certainly don't need another Hurricane Harvey anywhere. The devastation is unbelievable. I heard that the amount of water that's sitting in the area in and around Houston and the area that was dumped on throughout this past week contains more water than Lake Michigan. That's a lot of water. Lake Michigan's huge and it's deep. It's a lot of water. And don't know if you've ever been up north and looked out across Lake Michigan, but it almost looks like the ocean in a way, because when you're standing there and looking out, you cannot see land on the other side. All you see is water as far as the eye can see. It it looks huge. You think you're looking at the North Atlantic or something, but it's actually a lake, Lake Michigan. Tremendous amount of water. There's more water than that as a result of this storm in Texas right now on the ground. Just absolutely amazing the amount of coverage that this storm had, and it's still hanging around. Still doing some damage. So anyway, unfortunately, 20 confirmed dead at this point, and I'm sure they'll find more when the water recedes. You're going to find a lot more, unfortunately, victims of the storm. So it's unfortunate, but again, this is, part of life and Mother Nature, and it's a powerful force. And, these things happen. It's part of life. Let's just hope it's over. No more storms for this year. We've had enough. Okay, the story that probably everybody is talking about by now, certainly, is the story. I'm not sure where it originated, but I'm giving it to you from the True Pundit. And this is absolutely extraordinary. And it goes like this. James Comey started drafting the statement to exonerate the rotten Reverend Clinton before the FBI even interviewed her top aides, and 17 other witnesses. The Comey Memos have revealed that the dishonorable James Comey started the draft of his statement to exonerate the rotten Reverend Clinton even before Hillary Rodham Clinton or any other witnesses were interviewed. The statement was written somewhere between April and May of 2016. The statement was even drafted before the immunity agreements were offered to Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson. This is... which means that the entire thing was a complete performance, a presentation. It was kabuki theater. Comey knew back as early as April and May of 2016 that he was going to exonerate Hillary Clinton. before he had interviewed any of the witnesses. And remember all the build-up to Hillary's interview, I believe it was Labor Day weekend that was supposed to take place, just before the meeting on the tarmac. The immunity granted to these witnesses, all the hearings, all the news reports, all the coverage, all that the country was put through by the dishonorable James Comey and the Justice Department. Certainly, Loretta Lynch was well aware of this, as well as I'm sure Andrew McCabe and various other people throughout the bureaucracy in the FBI and the Department of Justice, probably aware of every bit of this. Wouldn't doubt what some members of the media were aware of it. Wouldn't doubt but what probably some high-ranking Republicans were aware of it. And you can bet your bottom dollar that the Clintons were aware of it. My friends, this is at the very least obstruction of justice. In fact, I think you could probably make a pretty good argument that the dishonorable James Comey is an accessory to the crime after the fact, and part of a cover-up. One of many cover-ups he's been involved in, one of many crimes he's been involved in. How will the pit bull, Trey Gowdy, respond? He does head the oversight committee. I think we need a little oversight here. How about you? Attorney General Sessions should immediately charge James Comey with obstruction of justice on multiple counts. There's overwhelming evidence, and these Comey memos, and they're not done reading them, and many of what's in these memos is redacted. Don't know why that should be the case, but the fact is that this has now been revealed. The Attorney General should get the complete memos unredacted. I mean, this is just incredible. We went through an entire cycle from the spring all the way up to the election, and even after the election, and even up until we are today with this whole Hillary Clinton email investigation. And now we find out that the entire thing was a charade. It was a puppet show. And we're supposed to just sit back and say, oh, okay, well, you know, he probably shouldn't have done that. Oh, that James Comey, he got us again. I don't think so. Attorney General Sessions, you must act. Charge the dishonorable Comey. He should have been charged before. He sat right there under oath, raised his hand under oath, took the oath, and then admitted under oath, testified under oath in front of the world, in front of Congress and everybody, that he in fact leaked classified information, phone calls with the president. He leaked information to a journalist for the very purpose of getting a special prosecutor to investigate the president with the hope of taking down the president. And now he's writing a book. Do you think that this will be in the dishonorable James Comey's book? Do you think it will be in chapter 13? Where do you think we'll find this in the book? The fact that this miserable son of a bitch is walking around a free man collecting a government pension and getting ready to make millions and millions of dollars off a book. He's already fabulously wealthy. Take a look at what his net worth is. It's bad enough that he represented for the Clintons the HSBC Bank for laundering hundreds of millions of dollars of drug money and got them off the hook with nothing more than a small fine. This is what Comey does. He gets criminals off the hook. That's his specialty. And he's a criminal himself. Fortunately for him, he's got criminals getting him off the hook. It's one big happy family. It's one big cesspool of corruption. It's the swamp. My God. You almost need a barf bucket to even review the news these days. It turns your stomach. It's almost like we live in some sort of a crazy... I mean, this will be a bad movie. No one would even go watch this movie. No one would believe it. You know, people are hearing this and learning about this, and, you know, there's really nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is count on the Attorney General that we have now, the FBI Director we have now, to actually take the action that they would take against you in a minute, or me, Do you think if this was anyone else, Hillary Clinton, the rotten reverend, violated the Espionage Act by thousands of counts? Not one count, not two count, not five counts, thousands of counts of violations of the Espionage Act. Willingly violated the Espionage Act. She knew she was violating the Espionage Act when she did it. That's why she did it. Absolutely unbelievable. If this does not generate some sort of a at the very least investigation, we don't really need an investigation. We have the you do an investigation to see if there's some evidence of a crime. We don't really need to do any more investigation of the dishonorable James Comey, of Hillary Rodham Clinton. We don't need any of that. All the evidence is there. We just need someone to prosecute the law equally and fairly. The same for the rotten reverend and the dishonorable James Comey as would be done for you or I, or against you and I. That's all we're asking for. A little justice. Because if you don't prosecute this stuff, it continues. And it gets worse. When they reconvene, when the Congress reconvenes, the pit bull better have something going on here. But it should go far beyond even the Congress having hearings. And all they'll do is probably have closed sessions anyway, where they probably sit there and laugh and joke about how they're putting one over on us. It's probably all that happens in these closed sessions. Probably sit there and tell jokes and have tea and Danish, bagels, and then they go out to lunch, have a few drinks, laugh a little. What a bunch of dupes we all are. You know, there's a level of corruption that everyone accepts in government. But there is a breaking point. There is a point where people just finally will get fed up. Ever heard of King Louis XVI? The Sun King? And his wife Marie Antoinette? Familiar with a device called the guillotine? Heard of something called Bastille Day? Heard of something called blood flowing through the streets of downtown Paris? In the early 1800s, what, 1804, 5, something like that? It's just unbelievable. I mean, alrighty. Fox News poll reveals that half the country believes that the corporate news media poses an equal or greater threat to the nation as does the white supremacist. You know, I would actually say that the white supremacists pose practically no threat to the nation. They make up like a fraction of, less than a fraction of 1% of the general public. Yet, if you look at what the corporate news media has done in the past year and a half to stir up these groups, to persist with their lies, I mean, they're trying to divide the country, trying to bring about civil war. The media is far more capable of doing that and far more active in doing that than any small group of white nationalists or KKK. These people are such a tiny, tiny number. They have no real voice or anything unless the media gives them voice, which they do. So this is a no-brainer. Yes, of course, the corporate news media poses a much, much greater threat to the nation than does white supremacists, left-wing supremacists, or nutcases, whoever. The corporate news media is the enemy of the state, the enemy of the people, and we just need to turn them off. I have a long time ago. I pitched my TV in a dumpster in 2003. So I certainly hope that it's good that half the country is awake, but the other half needs to wake up as well. Alrighty, taking advantage of Hurricane Harvey drawing all the media attention, the rotten Reverend Clinton filed 4 revisions to her 2016 campaign filings. The new filings now show the rotten Reverend still has $600,000 left from the $1.2 billion raised. Now, this is kind of a deceiving figure because, yeah, there may be 600 large there in the account, but they're still paying off debts from the 2016 campaign. Those debts are not all paid. They're still paying people, in fact, salaries, as we know. Still paying Huma. Still paying off other people. There are still many other organizations who performed work for the Hillary Clinton, rotten Reverend Clinton campaign in 2016, which are still trying to get their money. And you can bet that they probably still have more outstanding debt from her 2016 campaign than they do have cash on hand. Well, actually, eventually, all these numbers, this is all public information. It will all come out eventually. I imagine after this tax season, I guess after January or April or whatever, whenever these campaign filings actually have to go into the tax form, we'll eventually get all the numbers on this. But I think we're going to find that that there's probably more debt than there are dollars available, clear dollars in the red. I think they're probably in the red. I mean, they're not in the black. They're not in the clear. There's probably more debt than there is cash on hand. This is why the rotten Reverend is charging $1,200, $2,400 for you to watch her pitch her book, $400 to get an autograph, and God knows what they'll charge for that piece of garbage she's passing off as a book. What happened? We all know what happened. So, who is going to take over at the Department of Homeland Security for General Kelly? Any ideas? Any thoughts? Well, I have one. I'm about 80%, 75-80% sure that the next Department of Homeland Security, the next head of that department, is going to be Sheriff David Clark. That is who I think Trump is going to appoint to take General Kelly's place as head of the DHS. You heard it here first. That's what I think is happening. I think it's happening right now, and I expect he'll make that announcement within the next 10 business days. Diane, turn in your guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, has recently been booed loudly after she suggested during a Q&A that Democrats should give Trump a chance and that he could become a very good president. This resulted in her getting booed off the stage. Now, the thing about Diane, turn in your guns, Mr. and Mrs. America Feinstein, the thing that separates her from most of the other nutcase Democrats in Congress, such as Pelosi and Maxine Waters and Schumer and all these other people, she is actually a very, very smart person. She's a very grounded person. She's a far left-wing nutcase, no question about that. But she is not a dum-dum. She is not a fool. She is not an idiot. She definitely is none of those. She is a pretty smart person. And she understands what is happening. She is not going to go down with the rotten Reverend ship. She is not going to go down with the Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz ship. She isn't going down with the Democrat ship. I promise you that. She will not do that. No, she won't. Announced today that Trump will donate $1 million of his personal fortune to the victims of hurricane, or to the people in Texas who have been battered by Hurricane Harvey. Now, do you think that the rotten Reverend and her pervert husband will be donating anything? Of course not. All they do is loot these types of charities. In fact, I understand that they are involved already in setting up some sort of a charity. You can expect that they'll be looting every penny of that. How about Senator Magoo, who married a woman who's heir to a massive fortune from her daddy's beer company? How about Big Ears Paul Ryan, what do you think he's going to cough up? How about Nancy Pelosi and her husband, who've made most of their money off defense contracts and dirty money from politics? You know, they're worth over $850 million. How much do you think they'll donate? How about all those journalists who are so empathetic with the victims and the people who've been greatly affected by Hurricane Harvey in Texas? What do you think they'll do? I can tell you, nothing. Nothing. They will do nothing. They will donate nothing. They will only try to use it for political purposes and steal some cash if there's any chance whatsoever there's any laying around. Count on it. These are nasty, nasty people, and they despise Texans. You can be assured of that. Texans don't like the game. So that's a wonderful thing that Trump is doing, and hopefully more people will step up, people like him with a lot of financial resources, and do what they can. But it's just funny how the people who are criticizing Trump and many others who are actually contributing something, who are actually doing something, these other people, they stand on the sideline and throw eggs and criticize other people for what they're not doing, while these people do absolutely nothing themselves except for take advantage. These criminals and the corporate media only want ratings. The wealthy establishment, they're not going to come off any of their stolen money, off of their dirty money, to help out a guy. Not happening. No way. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's disturbing. It's upsetting. It's pathetic. It's sad. It's nearly criminal. I'm going to need that because the next thing I want to talk about is new FBI Director Christopher Wray. Since he has been sworn in, I've continued to look and dig a little bit every day as I'm doing my research to see if there's anything coming out from Christopher Wray about what he may be doing now as a new FBI Director, whether or not he's actually going to prove that he's a man of law and justice, or whether he's part of the deep state and is going to continue the cover-ups of the crimes and participating in them his own damn self. There's a lot of things to be looked at here. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, although I did a bio on him, as many of you know, and everything says about his background that he's part of the deep state. I'm horrified to think that Trump may have been told that this was a good guy. Maybe he is. Maybe I'm wrong. But so far, I'm not seeing or hearing very much. Now, I mean directly coming out from him, or from his office, or his spokesman. We have heard, of course, that the Hillary Clinton email investigation has been reopened. We are hearing that that they're looking into the Clinton Foundation and various other things. But there are things coming out of people who are in the FBI, who are talking to journalists, and they're probably mid-level type people. It's not coming from the top. It's not coming as official statements from the director or anyone on his staff. It's just things that we're getting from journalists talking to people in the FBI. Now, this may just be that Chris Wray likes to operate this way. Maybe he's one of those guys that like to fly below the radar, keep his cards close to his chest, not talk about anything, and just do what he's doing until it's time. And then when the time is right, maybe he comes out and makes a statement. And that's very possible. That's why I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. We have to give him some time to see what he might do. But Lord knows, it's not like there isn't things to be looked into, is there? Hopefully, Director Wray is not a golfer, because he really wouldn't be having any time to play any golf. There's too many crimes. Crimes to be investigated. Crimes that we don't even know about. We're just talking about the ones we know about. Let's cover a few of those, shall we? Christopher Wray, FBI Director. Is he going to be looking into First of all, I'm very surprised at this point. I thought within probably a couple weeks he would fire Andrew McCabe, the assistant FBI director, because of his involvement in a lot of these crimes. He's currently under 3 criminal investigations. He's tainted. I thought Christopher Wray may want a clean slate, but so far, Andrew McCabe is still alive and kicking, and probably up to no good. Director Wray, will you be looking into your predecessor, James Comey's leaking of classified information to his friend who then leaked it to the media for the sole intention of getting a special prosecutor to bring down the president, based on false accusations of which the director himself participated in propagating? Are you, Director Wray, going to be looking into the former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, that little meeting on the tarmac, not to mention what we just learned a couple of weeks ago about the collusion between the Department of Justice, the head of the FBI, or heads of the FBI, I believe McCabe was part of that as well as members of the media, to cover up that little tarmac meeting, which we now know was always supposed to have been a secret. Remember, they wouldn't allow the press to have any cameras. It just so happened that there was a journalist from a local TV station down there covering a completely different story when he saw the unusual event occur. And he filmed it. Him and his cameraman filmed it. And then they asked a few questions and got the information, came back to their studio, and then they did their report. And we now know that there was someone there at that station that actually contacted someone at the DOJ and said, hey, one of our reporters was just down at the airport and he's picked up on this story just to let you guys know it's coming. That triggered an emergency series of phone calls, emails, meetings between heads of the Department of Justice, the FBI, colluding with people in the media to figure out a plan to cover it up, to figure out a way to make it go away. Director Wray, will you be looking into this collusion, this corruption, this obstruction? We'll be waiting. Now we're told, Mr. Wray, that you're looking into the Clinton emails, but we're also hearing that you're offering a plea deal. There should be no plea deal. We're talking about thousands of violations of the Espionage Act, Mr. Wray. Thousands. The country is not going to be very happy if you come out and say, yeah, well, James Comey got it wrong. She did have intent. She is guilty. But she's decided to admit her guilt, and so we're just going to let her slide. I don't think so. We also know that she was forwarding classified... Now, this is even worse. Takes it to another level. She forwarded classified emails to Anthony's Weiner. Not only that, she had Anthony's Weiner through her pet, Huma, print classified information, as well as the rotten Reverend Clinton having her own housekeeper printing classified information. Of course, we have the new Benghazi emails that were discovered. Will you be looking into that, Mr. Wray? They disclose a lot of the truth that we have never gotten from Benghazi. There was a stand down there, sir. You don't have to be a freaking genius to figure that one out. We had multiple military assets well within range of Benghazi. 13 hours, sir. 13 hours it went on with no help. We probably had drones within an hour flight from there. We probably had aircraft, we had helicopters, we had soldiers all over the damn place. It was a stand down. You might want to look into that, Mr. Wray. You also might want to look into the lying under oath and obstruction involved and all of that. Many, many criminals here. You should be busy, 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 busy. No time for golf, Mr. Wray. Lots of crime. Crime here, crime there, crime everywhere. It's all around you, sir. And hopefully you will not be a part of it. I will be very disappointed and I'm watching very closely, as are my subscribers and many other YouTubers and their subscribers, and many journalists, honest ones, not the fake news media. We're talking about real journalists. How about the leaks of President Trump's phone calls? Will you be looking into that? How about the release of the Michael Flynn phone call? Shouldn't be hard to sniff that one out. James Comey couldn't figure it out, but I'm sure you can if you want to, Mr. Ray. Came out of Signal Intelligence. Not a very big department. Oh, every single thing that's done there is noted very, very carefully. It shouldn't be hard to sniff that one out. Of course, we have the collusion between the FBI and the DOJ and the media to cover up that secret tarmac meeting. Certainly should look into that. Of course, we have the dossier, Mr. Ray. Who really created it? Who paid for it? And who leaked it? Maybe Mr. Guvarev's attorneys will get the answer to that question, sir. Maybe you're working on it. I don't know. I sure hope you are. Also, Mr. Ray, who really gave the DNC and Podesta emails to WikiLeaks? Assange, the publisher, says that he has the proof that the Russians were not the source. Kim.com says he has proof that Seth Rich was the leaker. Seymour Hersh says Rich was the leaker. Have any interest in looking into that, Mr. Ray? Here's another thing you can look into while you're at it, Director Ray. The deep state coup. Of course, if you're a part of it, I'm sure you won't be interested. But you should be looking into that as well. And these are just a few things, Director Ray, that you could be looking into, not to mention the most recent revelations that James Comey exonerated Hillary Rodham Clinton and then before he even interviewed anybody, he made his decision, purely a cover-up, purely obstruction, makes him probably an accessory after the fact. Plenty of crimes there, Mr. Ray. Could be a big year for you. Maybe you can write a fucking book where it actually tells the truth. Finally, because it is Friday and we're all going to be in a good mood, we end the video with something positive, and that is that one day after that nutcase at the FBI, probably a Clinton appointee or an Obama appointee, said that he wouldn't release the emails that had been requested because there was not enough public interest. It appears now that it didn't take that attorney very long to go to court to get a hearing in front of a judge. And that judge has already ruled. Oh, no, Mr. Hardy at the FBI. You're going to turn over those damned emails through the FOIA request. The FOIA request is quite clear. It doesn't require massive public interest, although it's there. So, that didn't take long. Got that cleaned up. We need more good judges like that. Trump's nominated many of them. It's just that the Senate criminals are holding up those nominations, and they're not all Democrats, I can assure you. So, that's what we have, folks. TowerGate, day 180, September 1st, 2017. Happy September. Friday. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Love reading your comments. I'll be back Saturday, and by popular demand, there may be some more breaking news that might change this, but at this time, I'm looking forward on Saturday to doing a video about the neocons, their history, what they've done, the consequences of what they've done, what they would like to do, and why we must stop them. Saturday, the neocons. Be sure and tune in. See you then.